Are you a clubaholic?
I'm a clubaholic, farmaholic.
Would you take your farm animals to a club?
No. No, it could be very, very messy. Hi, I'm Steve Raine, founder of Heart Times, and you're watching clubaholic.tv. About music of a certain style played in a certain way by a certain DJ in an happy environment, and for the people who are there to be there for the right reasons. We've always been a very friendly club. It's never been about dark, it's never been about deep or murky. It's always been about friendly, warm, receptive atmosphere.
You've had a successful relaunch of your legendary club brand, Hard Times.
Yeah, the night was absolutely fantastic, and I'm so pleased that it went really, really well. It's as if Heart Times had never finished. It was like a school reunion and a Freshers' Week all rolled into one.
I really had a good time, and it just makes me want to know a bit more about the history of Hard Times.
We were founded in 1993 by myself and then partner Donna Skinner. After a night to the Hacienda, came away totally blown away by the levels of energy and the atmosphere and how everybody was having a good time, and we made a go of it, and a couple of times we didn't just pull it off, but Heart Times was born. We always stuck to our unique and individual musical policy that was US House and Garage. People that came to Heart Times all came for the same reason, for the same musical policy. We were never a club that attracted what I would call tourists that just happened to be in the area. What you can achieve when you get a club full of people all there for the right and the same reason is an incredible atmosphere.
How did you come up with the name Hard Times?
At that time in my life, I think I was having hard times, as was a lot of people. Yet what was apparent was on a Saturday night, everybody would forget the hard times and they'd go out and they'd have a good time. And just for that moment, that night, everything was left behind, and they'd all be joined by the music, and they'd all get that feeling of euphoria. They'd all go home happy. There were hard times, yet there were very, very good times.
This was at the start of the recession, the first time, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, which is a bit, coincidental that we've just started it again at the beginning of this recession. Life has a way of dealing sometimes good times and bad times, and I must admit, I haven't just had the nicest of times, over the last few years. And yeah, maybe I've looked to Hard Times again to pull me out of that bit of a recession. It certainly did on Sunday, because I got a feeling on Sunday that I've not felt for a very, very long time.
So why did Hard Times stop?
I'd done it for so long, and again, it was always driven by passion and a desire to want to be proud of what we were doing. It was never ever money led. At the time, we'd made one or two moves from one club to another, and we'd never really settled in any club. Leeds was going through a lot of unrest at the time. It had just hailed itself as a 24-hour city, and it was obviously a lot of people were coming into the town, and not just nice people come to town, but obviously some not so nice people come to town. And obviously you can't help but get involved in it, working in this industry, that sometimes that unrest spills into the club. To deal with unrest and uncertainty and negativity, to then just drift back into obviously happiness and euphoria, and it just took the pleasure away. And I found myself enjoying the time I spent at the farm more than I enjoyed spending in the club, and we just decided that it was time maybe to pull the shutters down. Although I always knew it was never going to be forever, because I always had the feeling inside that in the future there would be times people witness the Hard Times experience again. I felt a need, I felt a desire. I came out and spoke to some friends, and Came to see Kerry Chandler playing at the Warehouse, who was an old friend of mine. And I just came away thinking I'd like to maybe have another go at doing something and maybe seeing Hard Times up in lights again and seeing all those friendly faces and new faces and memories from a time that was a very, very happy time in my life.
So how does Hard Times set itself apart as a club brand?
But it was the nights when the likes of Tony Humphries turned up and Roger Sanchez, and they seemed to be able to get an atmosphere far better, and it wasn't flashing lights and bells and whistles. It was soulful and it had rhythm. It drove people to dance. When you get 1,000 people all going to listen for the same type of music, there becomes a time in the night when it ceases to be 1,000 people listening to music to one mass of people feeling the music. And when the sound goes from sound to feel, that's when you've got an unbelievable club night.
So, you're a farmer.
People couldn't understand or believe how I could run a farm and have a successful club night and record label, because the two are totally contrary. However, I'm a Gemini, I'm a total Gemini, and yeah, there's one half of me loves being in a club, you know, jumping about and hanging off the rafters, but there's another side to me that likes, you know, the farming aspect to my life. I like having animals, I like nature. I breed sheep and I've got horses and I've got chickens and everything that you would expect to be on a farm.
Can I have a horse, please?
Well, actually, I just had a foal 2 days ago. CLUBAHOLIC will have to come and be Farmaholic.
Yay!
And you can come and have a look at my new little foal.
So who are your musical inspirations or idols?
The people that I've enjoyed working with, obviously David Morales. Nobody can play the kind of set that David Morales plays. Equally, you've got the masters at work, both Kenny and Louis. You know, they played for me on my first birthday, which is quite some time ago. But then there are other people that were young, that, you know, such as the Kerry Chandlers and the Dennis Ferrers, who, when I started, were only just beginning their musical careers and used to be honoured to play for Hard Times and pretty much play for the price of a plane ticket and a meal. So to look now and see where they are in their careers, you know, that's really rewarding, because it shows that we were right. We believed that they had the talent and we believed that they would go all the way, and yes, you know, they have.
If you was trapped on a desert island and you could only take 3 discs with you, what would you take?
The first one I'd have to take would have to be the S-Man, Time to Stop. It was by my good friend Roger Sanchez, and it was the first record I ever released on my own Hard Times the label album. And we used to always listen to Pete Tong, Essential Selection, on a Friday night. I was doing a full-on Hard Times night at Cream that night with Todd Terry. And I thought, well, it'd be nice to go to Cream with a record that was maybe number in the top 10 of the Essential Selection. So I listened and listened, and we got to 10 and nothing, and we got to 5 and nothing, and we got to 4 and we got to 3, and I'd given it up and I'd gone to get my clothes as a bad job, and I just came back into the room to listen to Pete Tong doing his number 1 of the Essential Selection, and it was the S-Man, Time to Stop. So you can imagine how I went to Cream that night. Todd Terry dropped it at Cream and the club went off big style. That was a very, very nice feeling. Number 2, Todd Terry's sound design, Bounce to the Beat. An unbelievable record for its time, and again, you know, I've witnessed it so many times being dropped in clubs by the best DJs in the world, and just stood back and watched the response. Again, an unbelievable feeling. And third and finally, it has to be the Masters at Work, working under the guise of 200 Sheep, which was the Hard Times March. Kenny and Louis were in the studio doing the track for me. It was the 3rd release on my own independent label, which we were the first club ever to have its own independent label. I was at a farm auction buying sheep, and I phoned the studio and said, how are they doing? How's Kenny and Louis doing? And Louis said, how are you doing? I said, well, I've just bought 200 sheep, and 200 sheep was born.
What does the future hold then for Hard Times?
I would like to think that, you know, we can build on the night that we've just had. Yes, there are other parties planned. We've got the 19th birthday party on the 26th of August, Bank Holiday Sunday. And I brought my old friend Louis Vega, who played at the first ever birthday party. He's going to come and do the 19th, which I'm so pleased about, together with a few of my other old friends that I met along the years. There's going to be another party in Leeds in October, and I've got a big London following, so I've got a feeling in the back of my mind that I want to go back to London. And then I'm going to do a Boxing Day event with Kerry. Kerry's going to come over and spend Christmas with us. And then I'm going to take a step back and have a look, and if people want it, and we're all enjoying it, and I think if it's for the right reasons, then we'll maybe have a look at putting some more parties together next year.
Am I invited?
Of course you are, Wanda.
So how does hard?
Well, there's got to be the oh God, can we just do that again? Because I just swallowed my tongue. Hi, I'm Stephen Raine. Oh no, and you are watching CLUBAHOLIC.com TV. No.